So ladies and gentlemen, today in terms of the tutorial, there's a number of activities we would like to go and talk about and work on that are really related to your assignment that is worth a big chunk of your mark. But what I want you to know also that is really important to know is that we are going to be covering a very important calculation next week that is really crucial if you would like to go and pass this subject. And it's really relating to my lecture 9 next week. So you can see there are so many other lectures that I've loaded for you during the break. And this is one very important lecture. And this lecture is specifically related to what we call the earned value method of analysis. And this method is a lot about calculations and learning how to do those calculations. And this, in addition to learning those calculations, you also need to go and really learn about something else. You're going to need to go and learn about a lot of the exercises that you need to go and do, which we're going to talk about, in further details next week. But you can see there are so many exercises in the tutorial relating to the topic that you need to do. And I can tell you there are two types of exercises. There are the types that you do, by filling the tables and analyzing things. And there are the types where you're given a graph, and based on the graph, you're asked to go and actually analyze things. And what I can tell you is you need to learn these things because, this is definitely going to be one calculation that is going to be in your final exam. So this is going to be in addition to other calculations you need to do for your final exam, but that is definitely one of them. So I would want to go and say that I want to ask you very kindly to send a message now to all your team members, telling those team members that next week's lecture will cover a very important concept that will make a difference between passing the final exam and failing the final exam, and that they need to actually be doing the effort to come to the classroom next week to be able to go and ensure they're going to learn the content that is required to be able to go and get the job done in the final exam. So please make sure, if your team members are not here, please make sure you communicate that information to them. Now, for now, we're going to need to talk about other stuff. We're going to need to go and talk about your assignment that is actually going to be due in week 10. And we're going to go and starting to allow you to do the presentations that you need to go and do in the classroom in weeks 10 as well as in weeks 11. Now, we have the assignment. And do you guys remember this video? Anybody haven't seen this video yet? Have we all seen this video? Give me the thumbs up if you have. All right. So I can see that so many of you have seen that video. That's great. I want to make sure that you guys have seen that video, because that video clearly explains to you about how you need to go and use the Kanban board to be able to go and really get the information to do the Agile section of your group assessment. You have this sample assignment and you have this other sample assignment. I've added this sample assignment for a very important reason, because that sample assignment have extra things that haven't been done in the first assignment that are very important. And these are, before you go and write any user story, you need to make sure you define who are the people who are going to be using that application that you're trying to go and be delivering. You need to define every user, and you need to ensure after you define every user that those user stories are written about each user. And you need to make sure that after these user stories are written about each user, you're going to need to make sure that you're going to write the acceptance criteria. Now, these components are not actually listed in the first sample. So the first sample, the group hasn't actually done this very important key component that they needed to go and do. And that's something we really need to go and actually bear in mind. So I want you to bear that small perspective into mind and look at both of these assignments when you're trying to really go and deliver your own assignment work. Now, what I also want you to go and do is I want you to go and bear in mind what I want to go and do today in the tutorial. So today's tutorial is not really about me introducing anything new. It's really more about giving you the chance to start working on your assignment. So during the tutorial, you'll continue working with your group on applying the agile practices we have discussed in the last week. If you are yet to work on the following, you could start working on this today in your tutorial. So you need to identify the users of the application. You're going to say, oh, how am I going to know who are the users of the application? Well, I'm going to say, to be able to get that information, you're going to need to go to your subject outline. You're going to need to go down in your subject outline. You're going to have to go and identify in the subject outline some users, super users, volunteers, program coordinators, shift leaders. So when you go and read what is in here, you're going to be able to see a lot of the information that is actually being written about the various roles that are available out there in terms of your work. Then what you're going to need to go and do, you're going to need to go and have to go and actually create the user stories relevant to each user. So there are so many user stories that has been created. It is not a bad idea for you to create some extra user stories yourself that you might actually go and see and believe they are going to be actually adding value. Create the acceptance criteria, as I showed you in the file that I basically just loaded for you earlier in the last 5 minutes. The user criteria. How do we ensure that there's a criteria that people would be able to go and read, and that criteria will show the actual acceptance that is going to be needed. Now, all right, guys. Now, if you have already completed the above items, then I need you to basically start showing me the work you've already completed. And I need you to start going and creating your user stories on Trello and start showing me your communication on Slack. So I'm going to put you now into various groups. And in the groups, I'm going to want to see what communication you've done on Slack so far. I want to see what have you created on Trello. Potentially, you might have done some stuff. I'll want to have a look and try to give you feedback on what you have created to be able to go and ensure you are delivering the quality that is expected. So if you're not sure how to use things on Trello or the details, then go and play the video that I've actually loaded for you, because that video is very essential to basically try to learn what needs to go and actually happen in terms of transferring all of these user stories into the system to be able to go and use them. If you've basically done everything else, just engage in communication via Slack. Transferring the sprints into your reports, sprint planning review, sprint retrospective, sprint release, all of these things. I need to see all of that as part of your report. So if you have already worked on all of the above, which I doubt, you can actually start working on potentially something else. But I can't continue recording. I just want to record this introduction now, but I can't continue recording because obviously I need to put people in their own groups, and I can't show people's work to other groups. So I'm going to put people in a group that I can put. But if anybody else who hasn't potentially attended the class today and have a question still about their assignment they're not sure about, they can obviously contact me on fadi.kutub@koi.edu.au and raise their queries accordingly. But other than that, I don't think there should be any problem with any information. But if there's anything you guys need, you can always make contact. Thank you very much for all your time and all your effort.